Dear students, today we are going to study a beautiful poem, Wind, written by Subramanya Bharati from the textbook Beehive. This poem was initially written in Tamil by Subramanya Bharati and later translated into English by A.K. Ramanujan. Subramanya Bharati is a great Tamil poet famous for his patriotism in the pre-independence era, and A.K. Ramanujan is a Kannada and English poet well known for his translation of classical and modern poetry. Let me give you a brief introduction about the poem. Basically, the poem is based on the poet's observation about the wind, where the poet has tried to highlight the destructive as well as the constructive nature of the wind. He says that wind teases and makes fun of the people who are weak. And throughout the poem, you will find wind as a symbol of difficulties that one faces in one's life. Okay, what is wind? We can say wind is one of the 5 major or great elements of nature. There are 5 basic elements, great elements like water, wind, fire, earth and sky. In Hindi we say Panch Tattva. These are the 5 elements of nature and wind is one of them. Or we can also say wind is a natural phenomenon. Students, you must have noticed when the wind blows gently or softly, we love to experience such winds. For example, cool breeze. We love to enjoy cool breeze. But when the same wind takes another form, right? When it blows strongly in the form of you can say storm or tornado or a cyclone or gale. So we know that it may cause lot of destruction, it may play havoc, right? So we try to escape from the terror of the wind. And when the wind blows strongly, it appears as if it is annoyed, it is in anger, it shows its anger. It is such a powerful element. That's why we also consider wind as wind god. Wind, come softly, don't break the shutters of the windows, don't scatter the papers, don't throw down the books on the shelf. Now in these lines the poet is requesting the wind. What he says? He is asking it not to blow so strongly or not to do any destruction to his things. He says that don't break down the shutters of the window as they protect the house from the stormy environment outside. The poet also asks the wind not to scatter the papers which are kept in his room and also not to throw down the books from the bookshelf. The next lines, there, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. But on the contrary, wind doesn't listen to the poet's request and blows so strongly and creates the mess in the room, with the books thrown down from the shelves and the pages are torn due to the force of the wind. He sees outside and tells the wind that it has brought rain with it again. So we can say in these lines the poet has tried to depict or demonstrate the damage caused by the wind. The poet talks about the wind in a very subdued tone, that wind makes fun of the weaklings. Here, weaklings is referred to the weak people or weak things like weak houses who cannot protest against its actions. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts, the wind god winnows and crushes them all. In these lines, the word crumbling is repeated many times to emphasize that everything crumbles in the face of a strong wind. So the poet is saying that when wind is very powerful, when it is very strong, it leads to the destruction of everything. It breaks down everything. Houses which are weak, they fall. Doors which are weak, they get broken. The beams on which the roof of the buildings are supported, they also fall. So in these lines, the poet wants to say that every weak thing, be it a house or door, gets broken or destroyed by the strong force of wind. In these lines, wind is symbolized as the difficulties or challenges in one's life. Crumbling bodies, crumbling lives. These are referred to the people or the animals or any living being. In the last line, the poet has addressed to wind as wind god because it is very powerful. And he says that powerful god wind winnows. Winnows means this is a process which separates weak from strong. Basically, winnowing is a process in which husk is separated from the grains. So in the same way, the poet wants to say that weak people get separated from the strong people by the process of winnowing done by wind god. How? Because the people who are weak, they get shaken up or they get broken down by the force of the wind. Means they are not able to face the challenges, adversities and difficult situations in their lives, whereas strong people remain strong as ever. That's why strong wind or the challenges or the hardships cannot destroy strong people. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to form the body. Make the heart steadfast. Now in these lines, the poet is requesting us to make friends with the wind. That means the adversities in our lives or the difficult situations or problems in our lives. He says that the problems will not listen to us. They will come. So what should we do? We should be prepared, right? We should be strong enough to face such problems or the challenges in our lives. In preparation, he means to say that we should build strong homes and close the doors of our house firmly so that the wind cannot get into our house. And then he says that we should also make our bodies strong and hearts firm to face these challenges. And then once we are strong enough, all the challenges will be like our friends. We will not feel that they are troublesome. Steadfast means firm or strong. Do this and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Here he, his, him, all these words are referred to wind god. Here the poet describes how the wind has both bad effects and good effects. Here the poet describes how the wind has both good as well as bad effects. The bad effect is that it can blow out a weak fire. However, if the fire is burning strongly, then the wind will make it burn fiercer. In simple words, we can say the wind can only extinguish the weak fires, but it intensifies the stronger ones, right? So similarly, if we talk about our life, adversities or the challenges or the problems deter the weak-hearted people, but make the strong people stronger. So in such a case, the poet says befriending the wind or the hardships of life makes it easier for us to face them courageously. There is an idiom which is quite apt for these lines. The idiom is all the troubles that we face in life will strengthen us further if our characters are strong. Through these lines, the poet gives us an important message that we should not feel bad that we are facing so many problems, challenges or difficulties in our lives. In fact, we should make ourselves physically and mentally strong to face these challenges. And once we are strong enough, we will overcome the challenges and we will become friends with them, because these adversities or hardships help us to make ourselves stronger and better. Let's discuss the literary devices used in the poem. First one is anaphora. That means the repetition of the same word in the beginning of the consecutive lines. For example, in lines 2, 3 and 4, don't word is repeated. In lines 6, 7 and 8, you word is repeated. This is anaphora. Next is personification. This is a figure of speech or literary device which is used for an inanimate object or animals or birds which are treated as human beings or which are given human qualities. Here in the poem, the wind is personified throughout the poem. For example, in lines 5 to 8, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages. Here, wind is treated as a living creature or the living being who can tear down the pages, who can throw down the books, right? So this is personification. Next is symbolism. Symbolism is a figure of speech or literary device which means a thing which is used as a symbol to refer to some other thing. For example, wind is a symbol of challenges or hardships in our life. So this is called symbolism. Next is alliteration. This is the repetition of a consonant sound in the close connection. For example, wind, winnows. Here the same consonant sound is coming in both the words. Won't, want. Next is repetition. It is the literary device where a word is repeated many times in the lines to lay emphasis, and the word crumbling is repeated many times in the line. So this is repetition. Here is an important message given by the poet through this poem. And the message is we should be mentally as well as physically strong in order to survive the hardships of life. A weak person breaks down just like a weak building. And we must make these destructive forces our friends with our strength and determination.